The stones here have settled into the earth over many seasons, finding their own level among the roots and the damp soil. There is a specific kind of quiet that lives in the narrow gaps between a home and its boundary, a space where the air remains still even when the rest of the world is moving. The green is deep and consistent, pressing softly against the brickwork, as if trying to reclaim the structure for itself. Light reaches this corner in fragments, breaking across the textures of leaf and stone in a way that feels entirely unearned and accidental. It is a place of absolute arrival, where the path does not lead away, but simply exists to be stood upon. To look at this corner is to understand that effort has long since departed, leaving only the slow, rhythmic breathing of the plants as they lean into the shadows of the house. The silence is heavy and comforting, a physical layer that rests upon the garden like a fine mist. There is no demand for attention here, only the steady presence of the walls and the soft, cool touch of the shade. Every leaf seems to be in its final position, held in place by the weight of the afternoon. It is a small world, bounded and complete, requiring nothing more than the passage of time. The transition from the house to the garden is marked by a shift in the quality of the light, becoming softer as it passes through the canopy of the birch. The chair remains where it was left, a silent witness to the stillness of the patio. From this vantage point, the house feels close enough to touch, yet the garden creates a distinct pocket of isolation. There is a sense that the space has always looked exactly like this, with the shadows tracing the same slow arc across the pavers day after day. The greenery is thick and unhurried, spilling over the edges of the stone in a display of quiet confidence. Nothing in this view suggests a struggle. Everything has found its place and stayed there. The reflection in the kitchen window is dark and cool, contrasting with the warmth of the sun-drenched leaves. It is a room without a ceiling, a continuation of the home that has forgotten its walls. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and sun-warmed wood. One could sit here for hours and notice only the subtle movement of a shadow or the slight tilt of a leaf. It is an effortless containment, a boundary that feels like an embrace rather than a limit. The doorstep acts as a quiet threshold between the interior and the green world just outside. These pots have become part of the architecture, their clay surfaces weathered by the rain and sun until they match the tones of the house itself. The foliage is dense and varied, a collection of textures that seem to have grown into one another over time. There is no hierarchy here, just a gentle accumulation of life near the entrance. The light is diffused, catching the edges of the leaves and highlighting the fine dust on the brick floor. This is a space of pause, a momentary stop before entering or leaving. The silence is anchored by the weight of the pots and the stillness of the air. It feels as though the garden is waiting, not for a person, but simply for the next hour to arrive. The greenery does not reach upward in a hurry but spreads outward, filling the small gaps and corners with a quiet persistence. Everything is within arm's reach, intimate and contained. The house provides a sturdy backdrop, a wall of warmth that shields this little gathering from the wind. It is a scene of perfect, unforced composition. In the corner of the garden, the hedges rise up to meet the sky, creating a wall of deep, waxy green that swallows the sound of the neighborhood. The bench is partially submerged in shadow, its wood silvered by age and exposure. The gravel below is pale and still, holding the warmth of the day even as the sun begins to dip. This is a place of total enclosure, where the boundaries of the property are felt as a source of security. The light stretches across the scene in long, golden lines, picking out the texture of the leaves and the grain of the bench. There is a profound sense of privacy here, a feeling that this spot is known only to the house it serves. The greenery is tall and thick, a living barrier that defines the limits of the world. No wind reaches into this pocket. The air is heavy and motionless. To sit here would be to disappear into the garden, to become part of the stillness. The transition from the bright patio to this shaded retreat is a short walk but a significant shift in atmosphere. It is an effortless sanctuary, built from nothing more than time and the steady growth of the laurel. The water in the small pond is so still that it acts as a perfect mirror, bringing the image of the house down into the earth. The mossy stones that edge the water are soft and rounded, appearing as though they have been there for centuries. There is a deep, resonant quiet in this part of the garden, a stillness that seems to emanate from the water itself. The greenery around the pond is low and lush, hugging the ground and softening the transition between land and water. The light is cool and steady, casting no harsh shadows. From this perspective, the house feels like a protective presence, its eaves reflected in the dark surface below. There is no movement in the water, no ripple to break the illusion of a sunken world. The garden is held in a state of grace, a moment of perfect balance where nothing is added and nothing is taken away. The enclosure of the surrounding walls and hedges creates a vacuum of peace. This is the heart of the small garden, a point of absolute focus where the effortless nature of the space is most clearly seen. The air is damp and cool, carrying the scent of moss and stone. The side passage is a corridor of green, where the ferns grow tall enough to brush against the house. The slate path is dark and cool, winding its way through the dense foliage with a quiet purpose. From above, the garden appears as a hidden ribbon of life tucked between the structures of the residential world. The light filters down from above, catching the tips of the fronds and creating a luminous glow in the shadows. The window of the house looks out onto this private gallery, a view that is shared by no one else. There is a sense of verticality here, the plants reaching up toward the narrow strip of sky while the path remains grounded in the shade. The silence is absolute, muffled by the layers of greenery and the proximity of the walls. It is a space that exists in the margins, yet it feels complete and intentional. The effortlessness comes from the way the plants have filled every available inch of soil, creating a lush tapestry that requires no intervention. The air is still, trapped in this green canyon, holding the coolness of the morning long into the afternoon. It is a secret world, accessible only by a few steps from the door. The lawn is a perfect circle of bright green, held in place by the disciplined lines of the boxwood and the soft texture of the lavender. The white wall of the house reflects the midday sun, filling the garden with a clean, clear light. There is a geometric simplicity to this space that feels both modern and timeless. The plants are healthy and full, their growth contained within the boundaries set for them. There is no movement here. Even the air seems to have paused to admire the clarity of the scene. The house is an integral part of the garden, its clean lines echoed in the layout of the plants. The silence is bright and open, a contrast to the deeper shadows found elsewhere. It is a space of pure visibility, where every element is laid out with an effortless logic. The lavender is heavy with the weight of the sun, its scent hanging low over the grass. This is a garden of order and peace, a small domestic landscape that feels entirely self-sufficient. The enclosure is subtle, provided by the house on one side and the low hedges on the others, creating a feeling of being centered and calm. The ivy has climbed the trellis with a slow, relentless grace, turning the brick wall into a vertical forest. The gate stands slightly ajar, suggesting a transition into another small, enclosed world. The evening light is warm and low, casting long textures across the leaves and the rough surface of the bricks. There is a sense of history in this corner, a feeling that the garden has been maturing alongside the house for many years. The greenery is thick and dark, absorbing the light and creating a sense of depth. The silence is profound, a characteristic of these small, residential pockets where the world outside is kept at bay. The enclosure is physical and felt, the walls providing a sense of permanence and protection. Every leaf of the ivy is perfectly placed, a testament to the way nature settles into a space when left to its own devices. The air is cooling, the heat of the day radiating from the bricks and mixing with the fresh scent of the plants. It is an effortless scene of arrival, a place where the garden and the home are inextricably linked. The gate is a simple wooden frame, yet it marks the boundary of a very private piece. The birdbath is a weathered stone pillar rising from a sea of soft grasses and delicate white blooms. The morning mist lingers in the air, softening the edges of the porch and the house beyond. There is a fragility to this scene, a sense of a moment caught before the sun fully wakes the world. The greenery is light and airy, moving only slightly in the invisible currents of the morning. The water in the birdbath is a dark, still circle, reflecting the gray sky. This is a garden of small details and quiet textures, where the focus is narrow and intimate. The proximity to the house makes the space feel like an extension of the living room, a place to look out upon with a cup of coffee. The silence is damp and heavy, holding the promise of a still day. There is no urgency in the growth of the plants. They seem to have drifted into their positions over time. The enclosure of the house and the surrounding greenery creates a protective bubble, keeping the morning mist trapped within the garden. It is a scene of effortless beauty, where the simple elements of stone, water, and grass create a profound sense of place. The path is a clean line of pale gravel, cutting through the broad, rhythmic leaves of the hostas toward the quiet structure of the greenhouse. The house stands close by, its siding providing a familiar texture to the edge of the garden. The light is flat and even, revealing the deep greens and subtle variegations of the foliage without the distraction of shadows. There is a sense of order and purpose in this small space, yet it remains relaxed and unforced. The greenhouse is a silent sentinel, its glass panes reflecting the soft sky and the surrounding greenery. The garden is tightly enclosed, a world of its own that exists just a few feet from the daily life of the home. The silence is clear and sharp, echoing off the glass in the house walls. Everything here feels settled and intentional, a landscape that has found its final form. The hostas are large and confident, their leaves overlapping to hide the soil and create a seamless carpet of green. It is an effortless transition from the domestic to the botanical, a small journey that ends at the door of the glass house. The air is fresh and still, carrying no sound from beyond the garden's borders. The fence post is a microcosm of the garden's age, its wood etched with the silver-green patterns of lichen. The jasmine vines wrap around it with a delicate strength, their small leaves glowing in the early light. This is an intimate view of the garden's boundary, a reminder that even the limits of the space are full of life. The background is a soft blur of green lawn, suggesting the wider enclosure without detail. The light is warm and directional, picking out the fine hairs on the jasmine stems and the rough texture of the wood. There is a profound quiet in this narrow focus, a sense of looking closely at the stillness of the world. The house is felt rather than seen, a nearby presence that anchors the garden. This is the essence of the effortless garden, the way that nature colonizes the man-made structures and turns them into something organic. The silence is filled with the visual complexity of the textures. There is no movement, no breeze to disturb the delicate balance of the vines. It is a moment of pure observation, a pause to appreciate the small, quiet miracles that happen at the edge of the home. The chairs sit empty on the stone terrace, facing the garden as if in conversation with the greenery. The bamboo screen rises high behind them, its slender stalks creating a wall of vertical lines that filter the afternoon light. This is a room built of plants and stone, a space that feels as permanent and comfortable as any interior. The house is just out of frame, its influence felt in the paved surface and the arrangement of the furniture. The light is soft and indirect, held within the deep shade of the bamboo. There is a sense of total seclusion here, a feeling that the rest of the world has been successfully locked out. The greenery is lush and cool, the various shades of green blending into a single, calming backdrop. The silence is layered, muffled by the bamboo and the surrounding walls. It is an effortless place to be, a garden that asks for nothing and offers a total retreat. The air is slightly cooler here, a pocket of respite from the warmth of the day. The stones are flat and steady, holding the chairs in a state of eternal waiting. Every element of the scene contributes to a sense of profound, residential peace. The white wall of the house serves as a blank canvas for the vibrant green of the ferns and the delicate white of the flowers. The bed is narrow, yet it feels overflowing with life, the plants pressing against each other in a dense, healthy crowd. From above, The composition is a study in texture and contrast. The light is bright but soft, illuminating the garden without creating harsh reflections. There is a sense of abundance in this small space, a feeling that the garden is thriving in its close proximity to the home. The enclosure is provided by the house itself, which wraps around the garden and protects it. The silence is clean and luminous, a reflection of the bright colors and the still air. There is no evidence of work here, only the result of nature's quiet expansion. The flowers stand tall on their slender stems, their white petals like fallen stars among the green. It is an effortless display of beauty, a small strip of land that has been transformed into a lush sanctuary. The air is still and clear, holding the scent of damp earth and fresh leaves. This is a garden that exists for the sake of the view from the window, a constant, quiet companion to the home. The path of irregular stones winds through the tall grasses, leading the eye toward the humble structure of the shed. The sunset light is golden and warm, catching the tops of the grasses and turning them into shimmering plumes. This is the edge of the residential garden, a place where the domestic meets the wild in a controlled, effortless way. The shed is silvered by the sun, its wood blending with the tones of the garden. There is a sense of completion in this scene, a feeling that the journey through the garden has reached its natural end. The enclosure is felt in the way the grasses rise up to meet the fence, creating a soft, hazy boundary. The silence is deep and resonant, the quiet of a day coming to a close. The greenery is thick and golden, the shadows lengthening across the stones. It is a space of quiet utility and great beauty, where even the most functional elements are absorbed into the landscape. The air is warm and still, carrying the golden glow of the evening. This is a garden that has matured into its surroundings, a place where the house and the land have found a perfect, unhurried harmony. From the height of the house, the entire garden is revealed as a single, cohesive world. The twilight has turned the greens to deep blues and shadows, the shapes of the paths and the lawn becoming clear patterns on the earth. This is the full extent of the enclosure, a small, private universe bounded by the house and the high hedges. The light is cool and fading, the day's warmth still lingering in the stones. There is a profound sense of stillness from this perspective, a feeling that the garden is at rest. The effortlessness of the space is visible in the way all the elements fit together, a puzzle that has been perfectly solved over time. The silence is vast and encompassing, the sound of the world beyond the hedges completely absent. It is a place of total peace, a sanctuary that belongs entirely to the home it serves. The greenery is a dark, protective wall, holding the quiet of the night within the garden's borders. This is the final view, a summary of all the small corners and hidden paths that make up this private landscape. The air is still, the garden is quiet, and the day is done. It is enough.